ఇంటర్మీడియట్ విద్యారంగంలో అగ్రగామి మన NSR ఇంపల్స్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ ఇన్స్టిట్యూషన్. ఐఐటి జేఈఈ అయినా నీట్ అయినా తిరుగులేని విద్యా సంస్థ NSR ఇంపల్స్.
Hello students, now let us continue with the taxonomy of floral formula and floral diagram. Now if you look at for the last class, very clearly we have discussed about floral formula we discussed as well as floral diagram we discussed. Okay, so here if you look at, in case of floral diagram, suppose if you find that floral diagram is nothing but spherical, floral diagram looks spherical or circular shape, I am talking about size, shape or structure of floral diagram what I am speaking about. If at all floral diagram structure, if it looks like spherical and circular, then it is represents actinomorphic symmetry. It represents actinomorphic symmetry. Now you know all of you what is actinomorphic symmetry. Generally what is actinomorphic symmetry? It is nothing but radial symmetry. So here it is nothing but what it represents? It represents a radial symmetry. What is radial symmetry? A flower. Radial means circular center. Generally radial symmetry is the term which we apply for animals, and actinomorphic which we apply for the flowers. A flower divisible into two equal halves in any plane of angle of division passing through the center. Suppose if you look at the flower is like this, you can cut like this or cut like this or cut like this diagonally, but it can be made into two equal halves, right? That is what we call it as what? Actinomorphic symmetry, or itself we call it as radial symmetry. Now observe this diagram. Now if you observe this diagram, now actually we need to draw this little slightly to the center, we have to bring it. Now if you observe this diagram, what you can see, this is somewhat circular. Okay, you can see, imagine this is spherical or somewhat circular. Circular means, so what I have written here, actinomorphic symmetry. Suppose if you find the floral diagram somewhat oval shape floral diagram, that means here I am just erasing this. So this point is very important. Dot represents posterior side is towards mother axis, always you have to remember this point, and anterior side is towards bract. So whenever you take the flower is having the bract, that always represents anterior side. So suppose if you find anywhere in herbarium or anywhere, if you see that floral diagram got elongated, if it looks oval, so I am just drawing this. Earlier it is circular, okay, earlier it is circular. Now what I will do is, so I will just make outer, I am drawing it like this. So here I am drawing outer, one more whorl like this. So if you look at this diagram, so I have took more space here, let us take little space only. So if you look, it should look like a oval, that is what I am trying to represent here. It should look like a oval. See here now how is the diagram? It is somewhat elaborated like this. Now it looks like an oval, it looks like a oval shape, not circular shape, it is somewhat oval shape. So as it looks like the oval shape here, then what it represents here? Mostly it represents zygomorphic symmetry. What it represents? Zygomorphic symmetry. Zygomorphic symmetry. Okay, what is zygomorphic symmetry? It is nothing but a bilateral symmetry. It is nothing but a bilateral symmetry. If observe the floral diagram, suppose sometimes where this is useful means at the end of the second year you have practicals. In taxonomy, if you look at, if the floral diagram given is circular, or in the exam if the floral diagram is given circular, that represents actinomorphic symmetry. If the floral diagram is elaborated and looks in oval shape, then that represents what is called zygomorphic symmetry. Always remember, spherical shape floral diagram is actinomorphic and zygomorphic one is not, oval shaped one is bilateral symmetry. So, a flower divisible into equal halves only in one plane of angle of division, that is zygomorphic, itself is called bilateral symmetry. So, it's here like Fabaceae we have. So, altogether in your textbook we have some 4 floral diagrams are given. In the textbook you have to remember, for example, we have 4 floral diagrams which you have to remember. So, you don't need to practice much number of floral diagrams, only 4 floral diagram. One what we have drawn here, it's already be completed, that is Brassicaceae. We just have drawn now, this is first floral diagram. Similarly, earlier used to have 20 families to study, now you people are lucky, altogether only 3 families are there for all of us to study in the botany syllabus. So, let us take even more familiar one is Fabaceae. For Fabaceae family also you need to draw the floral diagram and you have to write the floral formula, and other one is Solanaceae, and the next one is Liliaceae. The next one is Liliaceae, Brassicaceae, Fabaceae, Solanaceae, Liliaceae. We have 4 floral diagrams with 4 floral formulas. That is what you have to study in syllabus of semi-technical description of a floral parts. Right. Now, let us take the, now we completed Brassicaceae. Just example Brassica, this is a floral diagram and floral formula. Now, let us study the 3 important families. These 3 families are very, very important. What are they? Fabaceae, Solanaceae and Liliaceae. These 3 families are very, very important. Now, let us continue our discussion with the 3 families. One we have done, what we have done is Brassicaceae. Now, the 3 families we have to start our discussion. Generally what we can do is each family we can study individually. That means we can study first Fabaceae, what is the habit, habitat, morphological characters, floral characters and all that. Then we can go for Solanaceae, we can study individually about Solanaceae, then followed by Liliaceae. Instead of doing that, because our main discussion or the main preparation is for to attend the final NEET entrance exam. So, instead of discussing individually, now we are going for the comparative studies. Comparative studies means we are just making Fabaceae, at the same time we are just comparing the characteristics for Solanaceae, right, and we are also going to study for Liliaceae. Okay, so altogether we are going to study 3 families at a time. What is that? 3 families at a time. What are the 3 families? Fabaceae, Solanaceae as well as Liliaceae. Just make 3 equal columns. Just make 3 equal columns and we are going to study the 3 families. Three equal columns you draw. Right. Now, what are the 3? Fabaceae, Solanaceae, Liliaceae. Now, do one thing, you take the horizontal page in your running notes. Horizontally make the division of page into 3 columns. Simultaneously, we are going to study the 3 families. Very, very important. So, each character we will study for each family and let us see in where are the differences and where are the similarities. So, when you study 3 families at a time, you can find the similarities, which characteristics are common between which families, which characteristics are differ, what is the difference, where is the possibility of getting the question. You can take one, you can start writing with the blue pen, and anywhere if the point is so important, if you find some difference in the comparison, try to underline with a red ink or some other pen, black pen, and see that yeah, this is the place where we have the possibility of getting the question. Okay. So, instead of discussing individually, now let us go with the comparative studies of all 3 families. Now, Fabaceae, if you look at, Fabaceae is also called as Papilionaceae, or itself is also called as Leguminosae. Itself is also called as Leguminosae. Fabaceae family itself will be referred with different names. Itself is also called as Papilionaceae or itself is called Leguminosae. Why? Because here it includes mostly legumes, right? It includes mostly legumes. That is why as it is found in case of legumes, so this is also called as Leguminosae, also called as what? Papilionaceae. Now, coming to Solanaceae, most of the plants which fall in Solanaceae, they are used as vegetables. So, this is also called as vegetables family, meaning the most of the vegetables what we eat, most of them belong to Solanaceae. Capsicum, Lycopsychum esculentum, tomato and chili, right, along with that brinjal, potato, this all belong to the family called Solanaceae. Most of the vegetables belong to Solanaceae. Solanaceae is also called as vegetables family. Coming to Liliaceae, Liliaceae itself is called as lily family. Itself is called as lily family. Now, before we discuss about habitat, where do you find them growing, and what are the characteristics and all that, like vegetative characters as well as floral characters. But before that, let us start writing about important plants which fall in this families. List of important plants. List of important plants, meaning Fabaceae includes, there may be lakh or there may be some crores of plants which belong to Fabaceae, lakhs of plants which belong to Fabaceae. But out of which are important plants, which are the important plants we need to remember and we need to study and we should keep it in our mind, and what is their importance. So, here let us write the list of important plants for Fabaceae as well as for Solanaceae as well as for Liliaceae. Important plants. Let us write the list of important plants for Fabaceae, Solanaceae and Liliaceae. Now guys, if you remember, I know that today in the class, I know that I have to give list of all plants. At a time, if I give list of all plants for all 3 families at a time, it becomes very difficult for all of you to study and read. That is why I have given these scientific names and common names I already have given earlier classes. So, I told you to take per day 3 or 2 or 4 plants, and I told them to remember the scientific names, and I told them that to remember in which family they fall, right. So, try to recollect what you have studied from the last previous classes. Now, let us put everything together on the board. So, because I have already told you to learn this all plants in earlier classes by giving the table. So, now recollect back all the plants. Let us start writing one by one. So, first one is Arachis hypogea. Arachis hypogea. This is nothing but scientific name. What is a common name for Arachis hypogea? Groundnut. The scientific name for groundnut is Arachis hypogea. Next is Cajanus cajan. See here we are applying binomial nomenclature. Genus name should start with capital letter, species name should start with small letter, and we already have discussed these plants. Now what you have discussed earlier in the table, what I gave you, scientific name and common name, and Fabaceae plants, let us bring them all and keep it in this column, right? Cajanus cajan, what do you call this? This is called as red gram, or itself is also called as Pigeon gram. Right? Then other one is Cysoarinum. Right? This is commonly called Bengal gram, or itself is also called as chickpea. Right? Cysoarinum. It's commonly called Bengal gram or chickpea. Then what is the next one? Dolichos lab. It's commonly called beans. Then Dalbergia latifolia. It's commonly called as what? Indian rosewood. It's commonly called as Indian rosewood. This is a common name. Common names we are keeping in the bracket. What is the scientific name? Dalbergia latifolia. It's commonly called as what? Indian rosewood. Then similarly we have Derris indica. Derris indica. Now this Derris indica, it's also called as Kanuga. It's called petroplant. Kanuga, or itself is also called petroplant. Actually Derris indica itself is also used in the medicines, in the economic importance. Once again we will write the list of plants which are economically very much useful. At the time we write Derris indica. Derris indica, it's nothing but medicinal plant, most commonly widely used in the medicines. Commonly called as Kanuga, widely used in the extraction of the petroleum compound. So even the plant has petroleum composition. So the plant itself is also called petroplant. Of course, if you talk in terms of fiber, I am just writing one more guys here. Crotalaria juncea. Think you remember Crotalaria C. I am just writing with the letter C. Crotalaria juncea. This is Crotalaria juncea, commonly called as sunhemp. What it is called? Sunhemp. Crotalaria juncea, commonly called as sunhemp. It is used as a fiber, and Derris indica used as a medicinal plant. Right? Now, then apart from this, even we can take what is called as Pisum sativum. What is the common name for Pisum sativum? Pisum sativum itself is called garden pea, right? And Lathyrus sativum, Lathyrus, this is commonly called as wild pea plant, right? Then what else? What are the other plants we have? I hope this down part is clear, and then I will write down part. Guys, I hope you understood up to here. Then I will try to write up. See the list of important plants which belong to Fabaceae. Arachis hypogea, commonly called groundnut. Cajanus cajan, red gram or Pigeon gram. Then Cysoarinum. This is called Cysoarinum, commonly called as Bengal gram or chickpea. Crotalaria juncea, it's commonly called sunhemp. Dolichos lab, commonly called as beans. Dalbergia latifolia, it's commonly called as Indian rosewood. Derris indica, it's commonly called Kanuga, petroplant. Pisum sativum, it's called garden pea. And Lathyrus, it's called as wild pea, right? Then I will just erase the upper ones and I will continue writing. Phaseolus mango, it's commonly called as black gram. Make sure that you start writing list of all these plants. I already told you these plants in the previous classes to remember per day 3 plants. 3 scientific names or 2 scientific names along with the common name. You might have studied. If you have done your work seriously, today is a wonderful day to remember and write all at a time in the list of the families. Right? Next, similarly, even we have Phaseolus aureus. Phaseolus aureus, that is called as green gram. See here, genus is same but species is different. Phaseolus is common genus, but the species, if it is mango, you will get black gram. If the species is aureus, you will get green gram. Right? Apart from this, glycine max. Glycine max, it's commonly called as soya bean. Soya bean. Then we have one more P is there. Pterocarpus santallinus. Pterocarpus santallinus. It's commonly called as red sanders. Pterocarpus santallinus, red sanders. Most of the people will confuse between this and this. Dalbergia latifolia means, remember, Indian rosewood. Pterocarpus santallinus meaning red sanders. So most of the people have confusion in this case. Make sure that you try to remember. Pterocarpus means red sanders. Dalbergia means Indian rosewood. Right. Still, what else you have? Trigonella fenigrihum. So I will just give you one more. Trigonella fenigrihum. Fenigreek. Let us write fenigreek. Then this is commonly called as fenugreek. This is commonly called as fenugreek. So this is what is this? This is what is this? Okay, what is that? Trigonella fenigrihum, that is nothing but fenugreek. So these are nothing but the important list of plants which you have to remember for Fabaceae. I just repeat, Dalbergia latifolia, Indian rosewood. Derris indica, it's a medicinal plant. Again, we are going to speak about this plant at the end of the Fabaceae. Remember, it's commonly called Carnauba petro plant. Pisum sativum is garden pea. Latheraceae is wild pea. Phaseolus mango is black gram. Right. Similarly, Phaseolus aureus is green gram. Glycine max is soya bean. Pterocarpus santallinus is commonly called red sanders. Trigonella fenigrihum is nothing but what? Fenugreek. Now, similarly, let us come to Solanaceae. Now, in Solanaceae, if you start writing the important plants list, let us start writing Atropa belladonna. Atropa belladonna, it's also used as a medicinal plant. It's also commonly called as belladonna. Itself is referred as commonly belladonna. Right? Then, apart from this, Capsicum fruitescens. Capsicum fruitescens. Now, you all know very well, it's a scientific name for chili. It's a scientific name for chili. Right? Then, Cestrum nocturnum. And let us write Cestrum nocturnum. Nothing but, it's commonly called as night queen. It's commonly called as night queen. You know, Cestrum aureus is day king, we call it, get opened only in the daytime, the flowers. Whereas Cestrum nocturnum, its species is different, nocturnum, where the flowers get open in the night. That's why it's called night queen. Right? Then, apart from this, Datura metal, it's a scientific name for Datura. It's commonly called as thorn apple, but scientific name is Datura metal. Right? Then, followed by, we have Nicotiana tobacum. It's commonly called as tobacco plant. I'm really telling you, the people who practice the table previous classes where I have given two scientific names and common names. Now today all scientific names what I am writing at a time, that list of total plants may be at the tip of their tongue. The people who really have done sincere work in noting down the table on the same day, completing 2 or 3 plants, scientific names along with the common name, the people who practiced quite a good number of times, today the complete list you already, it's there in your mind, maybe each and every plant scientific name and common name might be there at the tip of your tongue, right? Yeah, let's continue further here. Petunia alba. Petunia alba itself is commonly called as petunia, right? Then what not we have like Lycopepsicum esculentum, persicum esculentum. So we have discussed even this scientific name. Lycopepsicum esculentum is a scientific name for what? This is a scientific name for tomato. Right? Then along with this, Withania somnifera, Withania somnifera, Withania somnifera. So Withania somnifera, that is a scientific name for what? A medicinal plant, ashwagandha. It is a scientific name for ashwagandha. Withania somnifera, it's a scientific name for common ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is the most commonly used medicinal plant. Right? Now apart from this, Solanum tuberosum. What is Solanum tuberosum? You all know it's nothing but potato. Solanum tuberosum, it's nothing but potato. Then genus is name, species is different. Now if you take Solanum melangina, Solanum melangina, that's nothing but what? It's nothing but brinjal. It's nothing but brinjal, right? Then another plant what we have, then we have even Solanum nigrum. So in these 3 cases genus is same. Solanum tuberosum means potato, Solanum melangina means it's brinjal, then Solanum nigrum means it's commonly called as makai or itself is called as kamanchi. Solanum nigrum itself commonly called as makai or kamanchi, it's also used in preparation of medicines. Now this all are nothing but list of medicinal plants, list of all the plants which belong to the family called Solanaceae. In them most of them are vegetables, that's why Solanaceae is also called as vegetable family. Now coming to Liliaceae. In Liliaceae let us start writing list of plants. Now here let us start with letter A, Allium cepa. Allium cepa, it's commonly called as what? Onion. Similarly, these all scientific names you have discussed earlier. Now it's your time to present everything in the form of a list. So when you write this particular list, it's very, very important for you all to remember, right? So here apart from this, Allium sativum. Allium sativum is nothing but what? Garlic. Allium cepa is onion. Allium sativum is garlic, right? Apart from this, asparagus itself is called as asparagus, right? Then followed by Colchicum autumnale. Colchicum autumnale. So Colchicum autumnale commonly called as meadow saffron. Meadow saffron. right. So apart from this, Dracena, Spanish dragon, Yucca. So here Dracena it's called red. Now if you look at what are the things here you find, Dracena is red dragon, Yucca it's called Spanish dragon, Glory lily itself is called, common name is also glory lily, Lilium candidum common name is also lily, Scilla indica common name is also nothing but Scilla, right. We have some more scientific names like Smilax. Smilax, it's commonly called as Sarsaparilla. Sarsaparilla. So you have to remember scientific name along with the common name, right? Gloriosa superba. Gloriosa superba. Right, itself is also called as Gloriosa. So apart from this, even if you take Gloriosa, Colchicum, Glory lily, Yucca, Dracena, right, Scilla indica, this all plants come under what the plant called as Liliaceae, right. Gloriosa, Colchicum both will show, Gloriosa shows rhizome, try to remember Gloriosa itself is an example for rhizome. Stem modification. Suppose if the question is Liliaceae plant which show underground stem modification rhizome, then you have to choose Gloriosa. Suppose if they have Colchicum, Colchicum if you look at Colchicum autumnale, it shows corm. Suppose if the question is related to Liliaceae, which plant in Liliaceae exhibit underground stem modification corm, then what comes is nothing but Colchicum, right. So this all are nothing but the plants which belong to Liliaceae, right. So these are nothing but important list of plants which come under Fabaceae, Solanaceae as well as Liliaceae. Guys, you need to take one white paper, practice all the list of plants, see that which plant belong to which family. It's very important for all of you to remember, right. Now let us see once again. If you look at Fabaceae, you have to remember all plants, no confusion with the common names, right. Very important one is Fabaceae itself is also called Papilionaceae, itself is also called Leguminaceae, it's commonly called as legumes. Okay, and the type of root what you find in case of Fabaceae, mostly legume means immediately you have to remember nodular roots. Immediately what you have to remember, nodular roots. Suppose if you get the question that the type of root modification most commonly found in the members of Fabaceae, then it comes under what? Nodular roots. It is come under nodular roots, right. Nodular roots means you know it very well, root contains nodules and nodules helps in nitrogen fixation. These nodules they help in nitrogen fixation. And what type of placentation means, you remember Pisum sativum, garden pea and all that, you studied marginal placentation. Okay, so the type of placentation most commonly found in legumes is nothing but marginal placentation. So whatever you studied in morphology, you need to apply here, you need to apply morphology in the taxonomy. Right. So apart from this, which one used as a medicinal plant? That is nothing but Derris indica. Very important, right. This is nothing but Fabaceae plant, very important. Now Fabaceae includes what? Grams and pulses. So generally if you look at these Fabaceae members are rich in proteins. Generally Fabaceae members are nothing but they are very much rich in, they have high content of proteins, So they contain high protein content. Fabaceae members, they contain high protein. So they are very much rich in proteins because grams, pulses, all these things fall in the category called as Fabaceae. Similarly, coming to Solanaceae, what are the important characters means? You know it very well. In case of Solanaceae, stem is hairy. Very important character. If at all you find stem is hairy, that is a very important character to identify the plant which belong to the family Solanaceae. Solanaceae, mostly the stem is hairy. Right. Apart from that, what else we studied in last class also? Epiphyllus condition. So what is the thing we have written for the last class? Important characters if you look at Epiphyllus condition. What is Epiphyllus condition? You know that for the last class we studied. What is that? What we have studied for the last class? Stamens are fused with petals. Yes or no? Right. That Epiphyllus condition we find characteristic feature of only Solanaceae. Similarly, if you take Liliaceae, if you look at the important character, Liliaceae mostly it includes lily flowers and lily plants here. So here the important condition of Liliaceae, if you look at, it shows the condition called as Epiphyllus condition. Did you remember Epiphyllus condition? Morphology we studied. That is why I told you morphology everywhere it is interconnected. Morphology examples, morphology concepts we put in every chapter, we need to recollect it. That is why I always tell you morphology we need to first complete that chapter, then try to revision number of times morphology so that you can remember all examples. So what is Epiphyllus condition? You know that in this, what is that? Stamens, stamens are fused with perianth. Stamens are fused with perianth. That is very, very important. Right. So here stamens are fused with perianth. Here stamens are fused with what? Petals. So for last class what we mentioned, the condition we mentioned like this: C for corolla, A for androecium. So we write arc on this. What is this arc represent? Epiphyllus condition. Similarly, Epiphyllus, stamens fused with perianth. What is perianth here? No difference, no distinct characters, or you say no difference between. What is perianth? What is perianth here? Perianth meaning calyx corolla looks similar. Calyx corolla looks similar. Then they are called as tepals. Don't worry, again the point will come. Stamens are fused with perianth, that means calyx corolla there is no difference, both look same. Then they are together called as tepals, it is called perianth. Now what you will write here? See here A is nothing but androecium, P is nothing but perianth, we write arc like this. So better you write down like this. P is perianth, A is androecium, we write the arc. That means stamens are fused with perianth. The condition is said to be Epiphyllus condition. So here if you take A with C, Epiphyllus, A with P, that is nothing but Epiphyllus condition. Epiphyllus condition is a characteristic feature of Solanaceae. Epiphyllus condition is a characteristic feature of Liliaceae, right? And here underground stem modifications are there. Like rhizome, where do you find underground stem modifications? In Liliaceae. Rhizome we have, corm we have, even bulb. Bulb, what is that? Allium cepa, allium sativum. Bulb is there. Underground stem preparations, or you say underground stem modifications. Underground stem modifications most commonly we find in case of Liliaceae. Right, most commonly we find in case of Liliaceae. Which underground stem modifications we find in Liliaceae? So in this we find what is called as rhizome, we find corm, as well as we find bulb. So out of we have how many underground stem modifications? 4 underground stem modifications, but 3 are mentioned here: rhizome, corm, bulb. 3 underground stem modifications we find in the family called Liliaceae. Where is one more underground stem modification? That is tuber. But tuber underground stem modification fall in the category called as Solanaceae. This is how you have to prepare taxonomy, combining the information what you already learnt in morphology. So this all you have learnt in morphology. Now let us put them into application into this. And you know, out of 4 underground stem modifications, rhizome, comb, bulb will come under Liliaceae. Then is one more tuber. Tuber will come in the category called as Solanaceae. Like that, every family has their own peculiar characteristics. Taking the examples of morphology, taking those concepts and very important conditions what we studied in morphology, we put it along with the plant example and we see in which family the condition or the concept is being exhibited by that particular plant falling into which type of family. So today what we completed? We completed a list of plants belong to Fabaceae, list of plants belong to Solanaceae and list of plants belong to Liliaceae. So you need to take one white paper, practice all. I think if you learned everyday 2 plants and common names if you might have studied, this all you already know at the tip of your tongue. Make sure that you take one white paper, write without saying, practice number of times, because these are the examples we make use of in almost in every chapter.